Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you already know that this is my series in which I use tarot and oracle cards to explore topics related to living the intentional life. And if you have been following along with me, you'll recall that last week we discussed the idea of obstacles as opportunities. Sometimes an obstacle presents itself for us to figure a way through or around or over it, and we evolve in that process. We grow, we learn, and we have perhaps even placed that obstacle in our own path for our own evolution. Have you ever noticed that obstacles are not always that interesting, that clean, that simple, that beneficial? Have there ever been times when you've noticed that an obstacle, rather than a challenge, looked like a big old stop sign right in front of your face? I've been there. I'm sure you have as well. This week's Tarot and Oracle spread is asking us to continue our discussion on the idea of obstacles, and we're going into the more challenging realm of obstacles this week. So perhaps we can think of last week's video and this week's video as a part 1, part 2, and if you haven't seen part 1, maybe you want to take a look at that one first, and I'll do that. I'll put a card up here for you to hop on over to that first discussion of obstacles, and then you can come back here when you have time and look at the darker side, the more challenging side of obstacles with me. So friends, I've got the spread already laid out. Let me show it to you. This is a gorgeous spread, is it not? All of the spreads I present for you, I believe, are gorgeous. However, I hope you agree with me that this is a gorgeous spread as well. It's a deep spread. It's an intense spread. It's one that takes a lot of analysis and a lot of rumination on my part as well. So let's ruminate together. Now, if this is your first time looking at this, let me give you a brief overview of what you just saw. Yeah, there were 3 cards at the top, 3 cards at the bottom. There were what looked like 6 cards in the center, 4 in a square with 2 on the side. So what is that? This is my spread. And I ask the same question every week. I ask, how can we live more intentional lives in the coming week? And this is what came out. The 4 cards in the center are the main message, the thesis statement of the spread. The 3 cards above in this spread that I'm using, they're the air. They're the swords card of the tarot. Yeah? They give us our vision, our mind, our conscious thoughts. The 3 cards in the bottom of this spread are the earth, the work, the physicality, what we do in the everyday. And the 2 cards on the side of those 4 cards that formed the central square, those are our advice cards, and they integrate to form one piece of advice. So that's how we're going to read it. Central, top, bottom, and then the advice cards on the sides. Now, like I said, I've got the spread ready to dive into. Let's take a look at the central message right now. Friends, if you recall from last week, we began the spread with the 7 of Wands upright. This week, we begin with the 7 of Wands in reverse, which was an interesting thing for this spread to decide to do for us. Yeah, to start one reading with the 7 of Wands upright, and then the next week directly reversed. And I don't know if you noticed this, but in this spread, we had 2 upright and 2 reversed, and they were both, how shall we say, kitty corner to each other. Yeah, we had reversed in the upper right and the lower left, and then we had upright in the upper left and lower right. And so I thought about we're going to perhaps take a glance at those pairs together, because I think that is telling us something. However, the first reading we're going to do of these 4 cards is going to be in a clockwise fashion, the way that I laid them out, from the top right around to the top left, bottom right. Very similar to the way that I read the spread from last week, if you recall. So, again, we started with the 7 of Wands in reverse, and then we moved to the Queen of Cups. Beautiful card. Beautiful image. And then below her, we had the 3 of Swords in reverse. Now, the 3 of Swords showed up previously. And then we have the 2 of Swords upright. So we've got 2 swords at the bottom, 1 reversed, 1 upright, in reverse sequence, right? 3 to 2. And then we've got Cups and Wands at the top. Now, you'll also notice that we've got... do we have any pentacles? Yes, we do have 1 pentacle in this whole spread, so we're not entirely missing 1 suit. However, we are missing 1 thing that is interesting, and it informs the next video that I'm going to do with Tarot de Marseille, and it informs, I think, this spread as well. And we'll talk about that when we get to the bottom set of cards. But first, let's focus in on the thesis statement, beginning with the 7 of Wands reversed. I will show it to you upright so that you get a better, you can see it more clearly. I have a difficult time seeing cards that are this richly illustrated when they're in reversed. I miss a lot of key elements, which I don't miss so much when they're shown upright. So here it is upright. But remember, this is in reverse. And upright, the 7 of Wands, is Mars in Sagittarius. Sagittarius ruled by Mars. In reverse, it is the detriment of Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter, the expansive, in Gemini, the split, right? The split, the this and that, both together. Now the twins, Gemini is the twins. So what does the detriment of Jupiter in Gemini tell us? Upright, we had the idea of challenges, we had the idea of figuring out ways to get around, up, over, or through to, the obstacle as an opportunity for our own growth. Seeing that there is a path which is obscured in the distance. Reversed, this is giving us the idea of false starts that could drain our energy, which is interesting because this week my energy has been kind of drained. I don't know about you, but my energy has been fairly drained this week. So, false starts can drain our energy before we actually get a viable start to something. Yeah, it could be that kind of an obstacle where we start this, we try to start that, and these indiscriminate or poorly formed plans drain us of our strength before we can actually land on something that could actually take root. We could get traction. That's what we say these days. Something that will actually have traction, right? So that's one idea. Another idea for this card in reverse is that perhaps we aren't really as prepared as we thought we were. And maybe that's why we've got the potential for these false starts, because we haven't formed a plan as clearly as in line with our powerful current of intention as we thought we had. Perhaps we're just shooting randomly in the dark at things, and that's what is causing this obstacle to appear. Or maybe we are allowing our view of our own limitations to overwhelm our willpower. Rather than our will being blocked by something that makes us think, okay, how am I going to get around this? How am I going to get through this? Our own sense of, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not creative enough. I'm not whatever enough. I'm not enough. That our own self-constructed I am not enoughness may be overwhelming our willpower to move forward. Does that make sense? That could be another possibility. So we got these false starts that drain us, or it could be our own idea of our, or belief in our limitations. Limiting beliefs is the other way of saying that. But remember, if we have the ability to imagine something and imagine ourselves doing it, we have the ability to become that. If we have the ability to imagine and believe that we can do something, then we have the ability to grow into that being. Now, okay, for me, if I have let's go to a really insane extreme. I have this imagined dream of myself giving natural birth to a child. And I can imagine that happening. So, can that happen? I am a cis male being. Can that happen? Well, what do you think? Do you think I really believe that? Do you think I really believe that I have the potential to give birth naturally to a human child? Probably not. That is going to be something that's not the kind of dream, the kind of thing that we imagine and we believe in that we're putting on our powerful course of intention. Those things that we actually believe that we can truly do. Okay, another thing. If I were interested in sports and I were interested in basketball, at this point in my life, if I were to say, I want to be an NBA, National Basketball Association, if you're not from the United States, an NBA player, how much belief do you think I actually have in that? And also, is that really the thing that I'm placing on my powerful course, my powerful current of intention? Maybe that NBA thing is just my ego adding on to what really is the essence of the thing that I want, which I'm actually placing on my powerful current of intention. And my ego is placing that I want to be in the NBA on it for my own self-importance rather than my actual desire, if that makes sense. And the thing that I actually would want is to play basketball, which at this point I don't really know how to play basketball, but that is something I could potentially learn. Will I become an NBA star? No, because that's not really what my dream is. That's the coding that my ego, my inflated ego, has cloaked it in. But the real dream is to play basketball, and that is something I can do, and I could believe in that. So, if we have the belief, a true, honest belief, that we can do something, and we want to do it, and we place it on our powerful current of intention, we can do it. And yet, we will still often stop ourselves, put an obstacle of our own limiting beliefs in our own way. Have you ever done that for yourself? My teacher said, I can't draw, so I'm not creative, and you cut yourself off from a lot of your own potential. Have you done that? That's an example of what this could also be representing. There's another side to that, though. We have those limiting beliefs, right? But we also have, like I said, the inflated ego, which is also part of this. Now, we also may want to check our smugness, check our hubris. Do you know what hubris means? It's a Greek word for basically inflated ego. Yeah? We may want to check our hubris at the door. Others are, when we say we want to do something and we want to be the best, better than everybody else, that's a sign of our own hubris, right? We want to check that at the door because we are not better than, we are special, we are unique, we are brilliant creators, we are the eternal, co-manifesting these beautiful bodies that we inhabit in this physical universe, and yet so are you and so are they. We are not better than any other one of us. We are each individually unique and amazing and beautiful. So when we start doing that, I'm better than, I'm more important than, I deserve more than, I deserve the opportunity and they don't, they shouldn't get what I want. All that, those indications of hubris, check them at the door, because that is also standing in our way. So we want to choose what we want, not to satisfy our egos, our inflated egos. There's a healthy ego in there. Trust me. You have a healthy ego in there, no matter how inflated your ego has become. There is a healthy kernel in there. But oftentimes it's our inflated egos that we want to satisfy. And that's an unhealthy choice that we're making. That's a sign of hubris. However, if we choose challenges that will serve the greater good, our healthy ego is also satisfied by that. Maybe not so much our inflated, I'm better than everyone ego, but the core essence of our healthy ego is satisfied and joyful in that. So, we want to choose things that will satisfy, that will be for both our good and the greater good. Things that will both serve us and everyone, that will serve all of us, that will benefit all of us, that will shine the light of love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness on all of us as much as we possibly can. And that could be anything. What are the things that you want? Is it a job? Is it this interesting job? Is it a relationship or your family? Is it a vacation? Your vacation could serve the greater good. Can you understand that? That your vacation, which you may think is very selfish and I'm spending too much time on myself, that can also serve the greater good. Because the time that we take to, and we'll be talking about this in just a moment, the time that we take to increase and to improve our own well-being improves the well-being of all of those around us. Just as my doing this video right now is improving my well-being, because I've noticed that before I began this video, I was feeling very grumpy, irritated, and primarily because my body was feeling tired and weak. And the more I talk, the better I feel. The more I talk, I delve into this topic with you, the more excited I am feeling and the better I'm feeling, and hopefully my increase in well-being is also increasing your well-being. So rather than those shiny trophies that will, again, make our ego inflate larger and make us think that we're better than everybody else, we want to choose things that will be serving both us and others. Now, those trophies that grab our attention are pretty, they're shiny, and you can get them too. It doesn't say we're not saying that, okay, if you get a trophy, we need to ignore it and say, no, this is not important. Well, it's really not important, but still we can enjoy it, right? If you want a chocolate sundae or a cone of strawberry ice cream or whatever your jam is, That's not important, but we have the right, we have the capacity, and we have the blessing to enjoy it in gratitude without thinking that that makes me better than I was before, or that it affirms me. Yeah? A trophy affirms us just as much as chocolate ice cream or a strawberry sundae will affirm us. It's just a trophy. But we can enjoy it. We can enjoy it. This is wonderful. I enjoy the applause that I'm getting right now, but the thing that I'm really here for is what you're acknowledging me for, and that is the thing that really feeds me. And so, knowing that that's the direction we want to go in, knowing that that's the direction which is the path on the other side of these 7 wands which are standing in our way, in reverse, when they come up, sometimes they can be intriguing challenges for our evolution, and sometimes they're just stop. You're shooting blind, or you're trying to feed your inflated ego, or you're the opposite. You're cutting off your own potential by your limiting beliefs. I've experienced all of that in my life. Have you? It's a good thing to reflect on and remember for when that obstacle does appear in that fashion. So we got this 7 of Wands. Jupiter, the expansive, in the pulled apart, some especially in this reverse position, in the pulled apart kind of Gemini. And then we move right to the Queen of Cups, this luscious image of a water spirit. This water spirit is, going to read it off the list because I don't have it memorized yet. This water spirit is Melusine. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think I am. Melusine. She's a freshwater spirit. She's a spirit of fonts and freshwater springs and fresh water. And she's here to remind us of many things. We each have spiritual sovereignty over ourselves. Now, there are several myths and legends around this figure, which a lot of them revolve around her need for privacy in addition to her service to others. Now, she'll come in human form, she'll get married to this prince perhaps, and she'll tell the prince that when she's in her bath, she is not to be observed, because when she's in her bath, she goes into her natural state of this being, and she wants to maintain her human image when she's for her husband. And then eventually the husband gets too curious, sneaks in to observe her in her bath and sees her in her natural form and freaks out and everything goes haywire, right? So, but she has the right to do both as she wants. She has the right to be who she is. She has the spiritual sovereignty to be her natural water sprite self, and she has the right to be her human presenting being and live the life that she chooses for herself as well. Because she also gives and she serves those in that life as a human manifesting being. So, we have the right to the privacy of our own inner temple, our own relationship to spirit, which means we don't need to go make our connection to spirit all that public. So maybe you're thinking right now, then what the heck are you doing now? Well, I'm not showing you my inner temple. I'm carrying out what I have learned in my temple out into the public. I'm not showing you my inner temple completely. And if you want to see my inner temple, you got to be my really, really good friend. I will show some people my inner temple. but I won't blast it out entirely on YouTube because it's not appropriate. Not because I'm afraid of what you're going to think, not because I'm being sneaky and secretive. It's just because it's not appropriate. My and your inner temple is your sacred space for you, which we can, if we choose, invite a few people in, but we don't want it to get crowded in there. We want our space. And she reminds us of that. We also want to respect the inner temples of others, right? We want to respect each other and be as well-mannered as we can possibly be with each other. That's her in her human form, living her human life with her potential human mate. Yeah, she treats her mate with respect, with love, with understanding, with care. We don't want to get thoughtlessly intimate with those we love. You know what I mean? Where you just blurt out anything that's on your mind that could even may be hurtful. There are a lot of relationships. I've had relationships in which that kind of thing happened. Yeah, the blurting out, the not giving respectful attention to the other. We want to have respectful, loving relationships with everyone that we interact with. Parents, children, lovers, partners, friends. Now, we can still play with them. That doesn't mean we don't have the opportunity to enjoy our time together and maybe tease a little bit, but respectfully, with respectful love, respecting the divine that is in the other. This is what she's reminding us of. And as we do that, as we care deeply for others, we also take time in our own private temples to care for ourselves. They are equally important. Just like they say on the airlines, put the mask over your own stupid face before you try helping anybody else. Because if you pass out, you won't be able to do anything. Yeah? So we take care of ourselves. And that's equally important to the care we show to each other. And the care that we show to each other is equally important to the care that we show to ourselves. Which is something that is going to be repeated a little bit later. So we want to create a nurturing space for ourselves and for each other to discover who they are. Now we can hold space for those around us to discover who they are as well. To individuate in the terms of Jung, or to self-actualize in the terms of Abraham Maslow, two of my favorites. We can help each other. As we individuate, as we self-actualize, we can hold space for others to do the same. In their own time. In relationship with Spirit. In their relationship to Spirit and our relationship to Spirit. So when we run up against that wall of the Seven of Wands in reverse, maybe we want to bring this to the front of our attention, because this will help give us space to heal, balance in our lives, to take care of ourselves as we take care of others, respect ourselves as we respect others. And if we do that, perhaps that Seven of Wands can turn upright. Perhaps. And this is the card of Scorpio, by the way. Yeah, this is the Scorpio card. Look at this. I didn't really talk about what we see here. We see, Melusine. We see Melusine. We see Melusine in the water, and her split tail, and the cup up above. We see her feeding from her own body the waters. From her breast, she's feeding the waters around her. She's not holding anything except for her breast. But the light of the cup of emotion and intuition and water sign power is right there above her head. And the moon is below, right? The moon is supporting her, just like the moon in Cancer. Moon supports Cancer, and moon is in their house in Cancer. So this is a gorgeous card. And this moves us directly into the Three of Swords reversed. And let me show it to you upright so you can see it better. But remember, this is a card we are reading in reverse. The Three of Swords. So the Three of Swords, upright, it's Libra ruled by Mercury. Libra ruled by Mercury, which is not the most comfortable association. Yeah, Mercury is happier in Virgo and in Gemini. But here we have Mercury in Libra, which is okay. I mean, we can figure a way to get through that. In reverse, it's Venus in Virgo. And if you've heard me talk before, I still have an unconscious confusion between Venus and Virgo. Somewhere in my past, I thought Virgo was Venus. Don't ask me why. Anyway, so we've got this egg. Around this egg, we've got the serpent, which reminds me of the Ouroboros, the cosmic egg, not the Ouroboros, the Omphalos, the cosmic egg. And the swords are piercing it, which upright made me think of, yes, we crack open, and we want to crack open. We want to crack open. The shell is nice for a while, but if we don't break out of the shell, we're going to die. In reverse, with Vigo and Venus, Venus and Virgo, what do we have? This card right now is telling us that maybe, when that obstacle comes up, it may be time for us to cut our losses. There are times when an obstacle really is a stop sign, and it's saying, look, ye who enter here, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. So don't enter and just cut your losses. Now you've put in this much energy, and maybe you're not going to get what you thought you wanted, and maybe some of that energy has been, according to our conscious thought, been wasted. So we just let loose what we have gathered and we move to a different path. So we want to let go sometimes. We just want to, as they say, remember, cut bait, cut fish or cut bait. There are some times when you want to cut the bait. Yeah, we want to cut the line and just move on. It could be telling us that we want to let go of our outworn masks, our personae, the masks that we use in public situations. And some of our masks are still beneficial. Some of our masks help us to move through society comfortably and interact with people easily. We each have our own persona, given the situation we're in. We have our mask of the child when we're in the presence of our parents. We have the mask of the parent when we're in the presence of our child, and those masks are not the same. We have the mask of the friend, which is different from the mask of the employee, and those masks are not the same. And that's okay. It helps us to function in society. But sometimes we got these masks that are now just, they're outworn and they're covering up our light, and they are no longer necessary. And this is time for us to let go of the masks that are now outworn and move forward unhampered. Move forward more freely. And maybe there might come a time when you or I will become, as they say, enlightened, and we will no longer take advantage of the masks that we have. We'll be able to remove all of them, but most of us here in society have personae that we use very effectively. As long as we don't identify with the mask. That mask is not me. I am the one behind the mask. You are the one behind your mask. And that's fine. That's good. But some of those masks really are ready to be let go of. And if we don't, we're carrying them around and sometimes using them in inappropriate or unhelpful situations. So we want to go forward with our reunified hearts, which had been split by these swords. Yet sometimes these swords don't just split the shell, crack it open. Sometimes they split the being inside. And this card in reverse is, yes, I'm showing it to you in reverse. Could be telling us to take the time to reunify our hearts. Just as the Queen of Cups probably is helping us to remember, to reunify, to do the self-care. Do a moral inventory on our own or with a trained professional. Do a moral inventory. Look at what things we are doing and have done that are actually in alignment with the eternal nature that we are and what is not. And this may be the time for that moral inventory as we do the work of bringing the pieces of our broken hearts together. And those broken hearts could be because of what other people have done, or those broken hearts could be because of what we have done, or they could be just because, or they could be because, not just because, they could be because we have chosen to break our hearts as a reaction to what we've observed in our environment, as a reaction to what other people have done. Does that make sense? Sometimes we do the breaking of our own heart we do the breaking of our own heart to affect others or to affect ourselves. To show, do you see how much you have hurt me? Do you see how much pain I am experiencing because of you? Whatever the reason for that breaking of the heart, this card is reminding us to bring the pieces back together. Learn from our experience, right? And it may be a good idea to be alone for a time. Queen of Cups, be alone for a time. Find our own self-definition, our new self-definition, our worth as an individual. That's part of that heart healing process, right? The broken heart does not feel its worthiness. As we reclaim our worthiness, our self-worth, our heart heals. Our emotional life heals. And we may want to do the maintaining of our sacred space and retreat into that sacred space as the Queen of Cups reminded us to do. Make sense, right? Move from there into the Two of Swords, upright. Two of Swords, upright. That is Jupiter in Libra. Now, Libra ruled by Jupiter. And it's also the complement of Venus in Scorpio. Right? The Venus in Scorpio, it's a complement. It's not their best suit, but Mars is happy in Scorpio. But Mars is Venus's bestie, partner, lover, and so Venus can work it out in the house of their partner. It takes a little bit of finessing. That's not her house. She may need to do a little bit of learning how to work around things and to manage herself happily within the house of her partner. But yeah, it's the house of her partner. So this is the meeting of opposite minds, the meeting of opposite beliefs, the meeting of divergent desires, divergent emotions. Have you ever had split emotions over anything? This is the card to remind us to bring that shit together. It's also here because we are unfamiliar in the home of our mate, right? I just mentioned that. We're unfamiliar in our mate's home, so we want to keep our balance. The twos are also cards of keeping balance, which in Pamela Coleman-Smith's deck, you recall that is the Two of Pentacles, is the card of the juggler keeping its balance, right? But there's also a balance in all of the twos as an underlying two-ness of each suit. So, balance of mind. Yes? Keeping our balance. Reconciling the two sides of the tree of life. The branch, the arm, the pillar. The pillar of severity, which points down in the mother pillar, the pillar of mercy, which points up back to Kether in the father pillar. We want to balance those and find the third way. This card is also here to remind us that we can find the middle way, which could be that middle way of, where are we? Here we are, the middle way behind, on the other side of those 7 wands. Mercy, severity. Judge, criticism, acceptance. So meet in the middle, join and meet in the middle, and use our discernment and self-discipline to meet with forces that seem opposite with our own. Now, this can be an internal thing, but it also could be an interpersonal thing. This is also reminding us to avail ourselves of the opportunity of meeting with things, people that may seem opposite to us. If you've been in the United States recently or pay attention to US politics, we just went through an election. And the division of I'm saying our country because that's the country of my birth and my citizenship. Our country is very sad these days. We are split too much. We're split in the sense of, and the foolishness of sports. Our politics have become sports in the United States. There's the blue team and then there's the red team. And many of us, many of the most vocal of us, have split into one side or the other. And if you criticize my side, you're my enemy. Even if you think that you are in my side, that self-criticism is no. Only ones who criticize us are the enemy and they're the opposite team. Which is okay for sports, and death in politics, death in social interactions. There is nobody out there who holds the exact same beliefs as I, as you, or anyone else does. So we came here into these beautiful bodies, in this beautiful universe, to interact with that which is different from us. If we didn't want to do that, we'd stay in the non-physical and just observe and be happy, joyful, and free in our non-physical existence. We came here to have these interactions with the other. We came here to experience duality, triality, quadrality. So this card is here to remind us that, yes, we want to use our discernment and our self-discipline and meet with the other. Observe, give respectful attention to the other. And if we can do that, we can find that path which joins us rather than divides us. The path of well-being, which is our unity, rather than the path of antagonism, which is our mutual destruction. So we need to enter it, again, with discernment, with self-restraint, with the respect of the Queen of Cups. In humility, we want to enter into these discussions in humility as well. Not that I'm any worse than you. Not that, oh, great other, you are so high, you are... No, the humility of equals. We enter into these interactions with the humility of equals and offering the respect of an equal. Make peace and find common ground with other and with the push me, pull you forces within as well. So this is an internal experience as well as an interactional experience. So we came from this obstacle, right? And when we come across these obstacles which are more challenging and may be a stop sign, then we go into our, okay, so I'm going to Queen of Cups now. Clearly I need time to retreat, and I'm going to take that time to retreat and regroup and heal. Do the reverse 3 of Swords and cut off the things that need to be cut off because they're not leading me anywhere. Do the healing, take off the outworn masks, reunify my heart in my space, be ready to move out of my space to interact with respect with other, and find common ground. And if we find the common ground, the path that joins us and moves us forward, what do you think is going to happen to those 7 wands, which seem to be an obstacle? We're going to move past them. We're going to be on the other side already. Does that make sense? This is a very important, I think, spread, especially at this time in the universe, for us here on this planet. Because it's not just the United States, right? It's not just the United States that is tearing itself apart. So friends, we've got this red. We're going to move up to the 3 cards on top and look at the mind and the way we look at the world. Let's take a look at those cards. Friends, I forgot to mention this, but these beautiful decks that I'm using here, a couple of them are out of print right now. The deck I'm about to show you and the one that comes after are out of print. But in case you are interested in these decks, at the end of this video, there will be a short clip that gives you the name of the decks and the names of the creators. And also in the description box below, there are links for you to go out and check out these decks and either put your name on a waiting list for the ones that are currently out of print, or, because I think they might come back into print, just a feeling, or buy 1 or 2 of the decks that are currently available. Again, I never get any financial remuneration. If you use those links, they're just there for your convenience. So, friends, we've got, again, the spread of air we're about to fly into. And you saw from left to right, we had the 6 of Swords, the 2 of Swords, and the Queen of Pentacles. So we had the 2 of Swords repeated here, right? And we have another Queen. We have the Queen of Cups, here we have the Queen of Pentacles. And because there was the Two of Swords at the end of the last grouping of cards. I'm going to take the Two of Swords as the central message here. But we're not going to start with the central message. We're going to start with the two sides first. So, we're going to start with the Six of Swords. Beautiful card, right? This is art that was curated by the creator of this deck. It's Odilon Radon, I believe is his name. I believe it's the pronunciation as well. And the Six of Swords is similar, I think, to Pamela Coleman Smith's art, right? We've got the figures in the boat with the swords in the boat with them. We get the sense that they're going towards the light from the dark. Very, very much a Coleman Smith style imagining of this card. So Six of Swords, what are they? They're transitions, right? They're moving from rough seas to smoother seas, from the dark into the light, carrying some of our thoughts, but hopefully leaving a lot of our negative thoughts and negative experiences in the past, behind us. It's our transition into the new, on our journey with our powerful current of intention. It's a rite of passage and change. It could be a pilgrimage, but it's definitely a journey. Yeah, we're moving forward, releasing baggage, like that Three of Swords, right? Cut bait. So, one thing that we want to keep in our minds as possibility is the idea of moving on, letting go, letting things go, allowing change to happen, allowing our transition into our new selves, into the light. Maybe doing the spiritual pilgrimage in our interior, with our or in our interior sacred spaces. And why did I say that? With and in. Well, it could be an entirely internal journey. Our pilgrimage could be a pilgrimage in the heart, in spirit. Or it could be a physical pilgrimage of doing like a walking pilgrimage. But as we walk on pilgrimage, we carry our sacred space with us. So it's both and all of that. And on the other side of the Two of Swords, we have the Queen of Pentacles, which is different from Pamela Coleman Smith's art, which is most of us who read tarot are very familiar with. The Queen of Pentacles. In Pamela Coleman Smith's art, we've got this woman in a very lush environment. I believe there's a rabbit. There are cherubim on her throne, and her garments are lush. There's a lot of vegetation around. She's holding her pentacle very comfortably on her lap. And here instead we've got a beautifully dressed woman from a different period doing some embroidery or cross-stitching, and she's wearing elegant clothes, and it's a beautiful card. It's a soft card, very soft. A lot of these images are very soft in this deck, granted. So the Queen of Pentacles is the nurturer, the practical one, providing the necessities of those around her, being charitable to those in need. Now she's the one, she's got what she needs, and she's there to nourish those around her. She's the water of earth. Now, Queen's water, Pentacles, earth, the water of earth. She's also noble, and she's comfortable in her opulence. She has the resources to share, because she's not the kind who will give everything that she has and suffer in silence. She's the one who shares what she has comfortably. And in this particular rendition of the Queen of Pentacles, we get a little bit of the Queen of Cups in the previous deck. This queen looks like she's in her private space at the moment, right? She's making something which we could assume is going to be given to somebody else. She's creating in order to provide. But she also has her own quiet space. She also has her private space in which to do her work before she brings it out to share. So this private space for this queen right now is her embroidery space or her cross-stitching space, but it could be her cooking space, it could be her car, her garage in which she's fixing the car of hers or somebody else's. I mean, we don't want to go to these weird, stereotypical, gender-biased ideas. The queen can nourish and other people by fixing cars and building building things. The Queen of Pentacles, could wield a hammer and knock stuff together and make stuff for other people. Yeah? So we want to remove those gender-biased ideas from the queen and say she nourishes and provides for others in whatever this queen presents herself as, whether it be a boy queen, a girl queen, a cis queen, a trans queen, a non-binary queen, whatever we're presenting as. We are all queens. Whatever we believe ourselves to be, we are all queens. And we have our way of, the way that we queen the best. And for some of us, our queening is to build or fix cars. And for some of us, it's to do embroidery or cross-stitching. So we've got that. These two ideas, right? Be there. Take your private space. Take your time for yourself. But also be ready to nourish and care for others. To be practical and charitable. And also we have the idea of letting go, letting loose, moving past, moving beyond. So now can you see why I wanted to read this card as the main message after reading these two? Because what is the Two of Swords? In Pamela Coleman Smith's art, we have a woman sitting on some kind of a pedestal or a plinth or something with her eyes bound and two swords being held crossed on her chest, and there are waves in the background, and it's the card of the catch-22, the stalemate. It could be avoidance, the impasse. But it could be weighing up options. It could be making choices that are sometimes difficult. But here we see this figure, not bound, not balancing, but behind the two swords, contemplating. Contemplating these two options, yeah? Two potential options of, where are we? Of this and this. The option to run away, go on our journey, or care for other people. Yeah. In the positive sense, be there for others, take care of self, take care of others, or in the positive sense, go on the journey of our own initiation and our evolution, and which could involve leaving other people behind. Negatively, it could be the slave to others or do your own thing. Cut everybody else out of your life. But I don't think we need to go into that negative direction. We can keep it positive. We could do both, is what I'm saying. And I think this figure in the center of these two swords is finding the path which brings both swords together in one. And is contemplating how to do that. How do I do and? How do I make the win-win decision? How do I carry both of these swords forward with me? And having trust that there is that path. There is the path of my own rite of passage, my own transition, my own going forward and leaving stuff behind as I do care for others and care for myself. There is that path. And that's what this card, I think, is here to remind us of, especially when we're confronted by that Seven of Wands card in reverse, that obstacle which says stop. We find our new way, and we do the caring, the self-care and the caring for others. Which I think this echoes that central spread beautifully, perhaps in a simplified fashion. So we're going to move down into the earth. We're going to drop out of the sky and get grounded. And we'll move into the earth spread right now. In this 3-card section of the spread that we just saw, now we had the central card being what we want to place our attention on, where our mind wants to go, finding that path, balancing those 2 ideas and 2 options, and finding a way through with, not through like leaving those 2 options behind, but to merge and bring them together. In this section of cards, I want to read them the same way for a different reason. You saw from left to right, there was the 6 of water, which is the 6 of cups, then the woman of fire, which is the Queen of Wands, and then the 7 of water, the 7 of cups. A lot of water in the earth section, and fire. Now, in the mind section, we had a lot of air and 1 pentacle, right? 1 earth. Here in the earth section, we've got a lot of water and a little bit of fire. So we're going to save that little bit of fire as our pièce de résistance, the final, the cherry on the top. Well, not the cherry, as actually the main message. So, leaving cherries behind, let's move into the 6 of water, the 6 of cups. So this is one side that we're paying attention to in the earth section. Yeah? See this card again, this interesting card, a little bit disturbing card for me. You see this figure on this side with this immense head, this immense mouth relative to the rest of the body, and the hand coming up to the mouth. And I don't know if you noticed this, because I thought that this was a person with a very, very small head. But it's not a person with a very, very small head. This is a person with no head, according to the artist. And now I can see that. This person here has no head, the headless person. And the hand is up holding a cigarette. And the other hand is down holding something else. But I'm sorry, no. The hand is up. Where am I? So, okay, I was big head, no head. The hand is not holding a cigarette. The hand is oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So the way you're seeing this image, the way I'm seeing my copy of the image is reversed, and I got myself all twisted up. Okay, so here we go. Large head, holding a cigarette. Do you see that? Other hand up to the mouth. No head. One hand up to the throat, other hand down, holding what looks like it could be a scroll of some kind to me. But anyways, what does it mean? So this is the card of self and other. Self and other. The big-headed one is self, our self-conception, our self-identity. And this one is the other, the othering of other people, or the othering of aspects of ourselves. There are aspects of ourselves which aren't necessarily entirely shadow, but that we distance ourselves from. And they say, no, that's not really me. So it's not the stuff that we absolutely do not see and we hide ourselves from, but there are aspects of ourselves that we say, no, that's not really me. That's not me. Now we other parts of ourselves, and we other people as well. So self and other. This card is here to remind us that it's time for us to let the other speak. It's time for us to put the hand over our mouth and give the other voice, allow the other the space and our attention to express themselves, and which right now they're not able to express themselves because they don't have a head, they don't have a mouth to talk, to speak. We want to give them, boy, I almost went somewhere very different. We want to give them their head. If you want to know where I almost went, send me a DM, send me a direct message, and I'll tell you somewhere else. But yes, the other is only able to speak if the self has the ears to hear, if we allow ourselves to, if we allow them the space and the attention to hear. And right now, we may not be seeing the other fully. Our understanding is truncated in some sense. We're only seeing part of the other. So not only do we want to hear the other, give space for hearing, give attention to hearing, we want to give attention to seeing them and seeing them as in their fullness, not in the stuff that is the most obvious and presents itself to us perhaps because it's the most irritating or because it's the pretty part and we don't want to look at the other parts. We want to let them express themselves fully and be themselves fully. Being fully present and finding and allowing them to find their voice as we find our own voice. And it's also the Six of Cups is the simple pleasures and nostalgia and fun, but I think the main message for us here in this spread is that part. It's that Two of Swords where we, in the central spread, where we wanted to meet the other, right? And we want to see the other fully. Allow the other space and attention to express themselves. Because that's how we learn. That's how we find that middle road. Or it could be an internal dialogue, right? It could be us giving voice to those aspects of ourselves that we've been othering and saying, no, that's not me. Well, that is us. So we want to appreciate that aspect for who it is, what it is. Let it give voice to itself so we can understand it better. And if we can understand it, we can integrate, as we were reminded to do in the Three of Swords. So the Six of Water. Listen, pay attention, give voice, allow the other to express. And then on the other side, we've got the Seven of Water, this beautiful, beautiful card, which is perhaps very, very difficult to see. We have, what do we have here? We have a figure in the center. Do you see that central figure? Yeah, here. It's difficult to see, but I think that central figure is visible. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in a very impressionistic style around the body and head of the being in the center, the self. And there's a bird's nest with eggs. There's a peace pipe. Let's see, can I find the peace pipe again? There's a peace pipe up here. There's a lighter with the peace pipe. There's a house on fire. Can you see the house on fire? There's the nest with the eggs. There's a house on fire down at the bottom there. So a lot of this stuff, some things that are clearly beautiful and natural, like the nest with eggs. Some things less so, like a house on fire. Something that might be a little bit middle ground with a peace pipe is good, but smoking we know now is not necessarily so good. So there's that, what do we call it, where there are good things and bad things all together in one. The ambi-die, what is that word? Okay, you tell me, write it in the comments below. But you know what I mean. When some things are neither good nor bad, but a little bit of both. Like a peace pipe, smoking a peace pipe. So, this card is here to remind us that in darkness there is light. Which is different from Pamela Coleman Smith's art, right? Where we have the figure looking surprised, and there are these 7 cups up in the air, one with a dragon, one with an angel, one with a ghost, one with jewels, one with a castle. And some people see that as the confusion card. I don't know what to choose. Some people see it, like me, the daydream card of imagining potential futures so that we can make a good choice. In this deck, this is the card of in darkness there is light. And we want to adjust our eyes to see in the shadows. Yeah, a lot of us talk about doing shadow work. I don't do shadow work. All of my work includes the shadow. There's not the regular work and the shadow work, it's just the work. But still, we want to adjust our eyes to see in the darkness. And as we see our shadow, we see the good stuff in the shadows that we have not been we have not been giving attention to. Those things that we have not been giving attention to, which are lying in the darkness, those jewels, the treasure chests in the darkness. We can become greater than the sum of our parts. As we integrate, we become greater than the sum of our parts. The shadow aspects long to be listened to. This card. The shadow aspects long to be listened to. Pay attention to me. And they come out in these negative fashions a lot of times, even though they're good things, because they haven't been given voice, because they haven't been listened to. And left in darkness too long, they can mutate and burst forth in very unexpected and sometimes destructive ways. Instead, this card is reminding us to adjust our eyes, look into the darkness rather than being afraid of it and do the shadow work. Look into the darkness and find the treasure that lies there. And knowing that if we can give it attention and give it voice, it won't become that monster bursting forth from the darkness unexpectedly, when it's least convenient, when it's least appropriate. Because our egos, are terrified of losing control, right? That's why they inflate. They're afraid that they're not important enough, and so they try to make themselves bigger, and they're afraid of losing control, so they shut things off, and they try to make this control center, which is different from that Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups having her secure, comfortable, personal space for spiritual work and doing the work of the emotion. That's different from cutting yourself off from the rest of the world and I'm in charge. Very different experiences, right? Having a private space, yes. Doing the terrified action of ego, cutting yourself off, and because you're afraid of losing control in your imagined bridge of your ship, that's not healthy. And we do that. We all do that. A lot. And so this card is reminding us that we can open the doors of that. Look into the shadow. Because that is the transcendent function, as Jung would call it. The transcendent function is a method to engage with and interact with the shadow, which is the purpose of individuation. Yeah, part of the path of individuation is to use the transcendent function, which is to gaze into the unconscious shadow aspects, and discover what is there, and give it voice, give it attention, integrate. That's individuation. So that's what this card is reminding us of. And yes, there is the unknown, there is the ambiguous. But that doesn't mean we want to avoid it. We want to investigate it. And a lot of that unknown and ambiguity is in the shadow. So what do we have? We've got these two. giving voice to other and doing the inner work, which actually these two are, this one is definitely personal. This one could be personal and be a resonance with, an echo of this, but it could also be an interpersonal thing. That we also find other and allow other the space to express themselves so that they can individuate as well, to allow space for their individuation. And again, both of these remind me a lot of the Queen of Cups together in that first, in the central message of the spread. And so in between these two reveals herself beautifully the Queen of Fire, the Woman of Fire, the Queen of Wands. This Queen, actually we can see 4 aspects of the Queen here. But according to the guidebook, because this deck requires guidebook work for me, because that's the way it is steamy, is charismatic. This Queen is a reservoir of strength. She's so charismatic that just her presence draws people to her and causes them to follow her, to imitate her, to emulate her. Yeah? Others want to and try to enthusiastically emulate her because of her passion, her creativity, her steamy sexuality. She's outgoing, she's courageous, she is noble, she's confident and dynamic. She's generous as well. Generous with her creativity, with her sexuality perhaps, with her attention, with her fire. She shares her fire with those around her, which is charisma, right? And she has boundless passions. She has boundless passions, and those passions can sometimes get her into trouble. Yeah? Sometimes if she burns too bright, she can get into a little bit of a jam. But generally, she is fully herself, and her full self is magnetic and changes those around her, affects those around her as well. She's not only herself by herself. Sometimes the Queen of Swords, I think, could be that way. But the Queen of Fire, especially in this deck, draws people. So what does that mean? So as we do this work, as we do the work of listening to other and listening to self, and do the work of individuation and self-actualization, then this Queen can reveal herself. The Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands, when coming across the Seven of Wands in reverse, that Seven of Wands just melts. Because that Queen of Wands is fully herself, right? Is fully herself, is creative, is boundless in passion and energy. When in upright fashion, she won't get herself into trouble, and obstacles are nothing to her. So doesn't that make sense? Absolute sense that we've gone from the Seven of Wands being this really real stop sign of an obstacle to the Queen of Wands. And we know how to get there. It's all this emotional stuff and a little bit of air stuff of making choices, cutting bait, also relating with other people. It's not only, all of our lives are co-creative events. So it also includes interaction with other, and not only those others who we think the same thing that we do, but the ones that we completely separate as other, interacting with those. And those that are behaving in ways that are destructive, we may realize that they need help. They are being destructive not because they are happy, healthy, and wise. They're being destructive because they are in pain. So those extremists that do things that we hate, we can hate the things that are done, but we want to recognize that those others are begging for healing, are begging for wellness, well-being. And so, to the extent that we're able to, we don't want to go into again, we said this, right? We meet the other with self-restraint and self-determination. If we know that we're going to lose our self-restraint and self-determination in an interaction with somebody who is so extremely different from us, in a very destructive way, then we go back into our private space and we take care of ourselves. And we're not here to save the world for everybody. There are people who are capable of interacting with those who are perhaps destructively opposite to us. That may not be us. It may be us. If you are able to do it, heal the world. Not that you're responsible for doing it, but you can contribute to the health and well-being of the world. But that doesn't mean that if you're not able to do it, you're less of a person or less than another person. Your path is different. We each do our own path. And we open up to the other that we are able to interact with. And we allow that other to have voice, to speak, to give attention to them. As we do the work of investigating our own inner other, the shadow, and integrate, and with the transcendent function, individuate. And as we individuate more, the more we're able to be this, which solves the whole problem from there are no problems, which allows us to move forward again on our path, our chosen path. Beautiful, beautiful, intense spread, is it not? And did you notice we had 3 queens, right? Which were they? The Queen of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Queen of Wands. Water, earth, fire. We are missing one. Which one? We're missing the Queen of Swords from this spread, which is interesting, and I think speaks volumes. So, just to let you know, before we get into the advice column, the advice section of this spread, just to let you know that that is the question for my next video for this week. My video in which I use Tarot de Marseille or Antique Italian decks. The question for that revolves around what the heck? Why was there no Queen of Swords in this spread? What is that saying to us? So, if you want, subscribe, hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when that video gets uploaded. Now, friends, we do have some advice to look at. Let's take a look at that. Friends, I just gave you a brief overview of this entire spread. We did a review at the end of the last section. So instead of doing another review of the spread, let's go right into the advice. We had these 2 cards, the Hero and Turmoil. And the art for these 2 decks is also curated art from the same artist, which the cards, the tarot deck in the air section was created from. Does that make sense? All Odilon Redon, all of his art. That tarot deck, and then these 2 oracle decks. One oracle deck, another oracle deck. Let me show you the backs. The backs are brilliant, are beautiful, and you'll only really be able to see the brilliance of this one. You won't be able to see the brilliance of this one because it's black on black, but it is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. Let me see if you can see. Let me try tilting it and maybe you'll catch a glimpse of the black on black. The I think that's UV, maybe hot UV, maybe cold stamp. I'm not sure, but anyways, that gloss showing that leaf pattern. It's just lush. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Anyways. More important than the back of this is also gorgeous. We've got the gilding on it. Do you see the flash of gilding on the back of the card? Looking like a moon over a landscape with a tree. Both of them are just lush. Anyways, very, very rich feeling decks. So yeah, again, we had the hero on the left and turmoil on the right. Interesting. Again, we got that idea of balance, right? The hero and the turmoil that the hero would go through, perhaps. So what is the hero in this deck? The hero is boldness. Not surprising. Boldness, courage, daring, strength, and success. Now, the heroes are successful, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't call them heroes, usually. Now, there are some unsuccessful heroes. Unfortunately, they don't often get the recognition that they deserve. But there are some unsuccessful heroes. Can you imagine what that would look like? Let me know in the comments below. There are unsuccessful heroes. But this is a successful hero. Again, bold, courageous. A small man with a, let me read the description from the guidebook. A small man, can you see the small man? Let me see. Where'd you go, buddy? The small man is, oh, there he is. Okay, there's his head. Yeah, there's his head. There's the head of the small man and the body and an arm being held up. There's a small man with a bowed head, sorry, I can speak English, and a cluster of laurels in his right hand. His right hand, that would be down here, I suppose. Let's see, and a cluster of laurels in his right hand grasps a gigantic, fantastic. Okay, so no, right? So I disagree. I think that is his left hand. His left hand grips a gigantic, fantastic, winged horse with his raised hand. So, winged horse, Pegasus kind of thing, right? The horse of heroes. Our advice is to be our own hero. I think it's that simple. Be the hero of our own story. That's what the Queen of Fire was telling us, to be the hero of our own story. That's what the Two of Swords was telling us, to integrate the options and be the hero of our own story. I think that's what the Two of Swords in the central deck was telling us, to be the hero of our own story. Why? Because the Seven of Wands reversed, that turmoil. Now, in this card, it's reminding us for self-preservation, tempering impulses with positive action. Yeah? We want to choose impulses that lead us towards positive action rather than just following any impulse that presents itself. We want to balance both eros and thanatos. The eros, which is the desire to live and to grow and to reproduce, and thanatos, which is the self-destructive desire. Each of us has both. We want to balance both of them. Pleasure, love, self-preservation, and on one side, and self-destruction, aggression, and anger on the other side, we want to balance. There is such a thing as righteous anger, right? As the avenger. That's how the hero becomes the hero. Finding the way of balancing both self-preservation and aggression against the destructive, right? Pleasure and a little bit of destruction. The heroes tend to knock stuff over on their journeys. And so how do we do this? How do we do that balance? Well, self-examination. We want to do the inventory, the moral inventory. We want to check, are we driven by negative impulses of knocking stuff down that we are because we're afraid of it, destroying things because we think they're going to get in our way. They're going to get in our way. Or are we doing things for positive, creative, loving reasons? Can we replace those negative impulses with positive ones? So sometimes the hero can sometimes do things which are from negative impulses. So we want to temper the hero with this turmoil card of being discerning, checking ourselves. Why am I doing the things I'm doing? Am I doing this for a positive, loving, creative reason, to create pleasure, to create love, to create joy, to create awareness? Or am I doing it for a negative reason, to destroy, to eliminate, to eradicate, to break down and break out? We want to do that moral inventory and be the hero of our own lives, because again, sometimes the hero can do things for the wrong reasons. We want to be careful. Are we doing it for the right reason? Are we being creative? Are we being eros rather than thanatos? Good advice, right? So as we do that, as we become the Queen of Wands in our own lives, as we become the hero of our own lives, we want to check how we are becoming the hero. Are we giving the respect and the love of the Queen of Cups from the central spread? Are we balancing our desire to take care of and move on? Are we balancing our giving attention to and space for other to communicate and be seen, and for our own inner other to communicate and be seen, and our own integration? Are we holding space for the integration of the other as well as our own? And are we doing this all for creative, positive, erotic reasons? Eros, erotic, right? But not necessarily erotic in the sense of porn movies, but erotic in the sense of the loving, the creative, the generative path. Makes sense, right? I hope so. Does it? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Does this advice seem like an integrated whole to you? Let me know in the comments below. And friends, if you are still here, hit that thumbs up button, please, just so that YouTube knows that you got something out of it and other people get something out of it, and it helps the algorithm, as they say. Also, if you have not subscribed, subscribe and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I tend to do 2 a week. I might try to start doing 3 a week. I've got an idea for another series which may not be weekly, might be every other week depending on time, but I've got another idea for a series that I'm thinking of starting about spreads and how I work with tarot. So if you're curious about that, ask me in the comments below. And friends, now, as always, not only am I grateful for you and for your presence and for sharing this journey with me, I also wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.